Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie, and I really am angry, so I'm probably going to be quite ranty in this video. What I'd like to know is how people who say that they're patriots, that they want to put Britain first, and it's all the foreigners that are causing all the problems and everything's wrong, and choose a day like today, Armistice Day, to go and totally disrupt everything. And I'll tell you why they do. So this is obviously Tommy Robinson and all the far right nutters that have gone off there on this day. I mean, listen, free speech. I don't agree with anything that Tommy Robinson says, to be honest, but he's entitled to his opinion just like anybody else is. But this particular weekend, Armistice Day, tomorrow is another sort of. I don't think anyone should be demonstrating. And the thing is, the blame that I put for this is with Cruella Braverman, who's wound everyone up into a frenzy, saying this, that, and the other, deliberately set herself against the police force. I know the police are not perfect, but I'm with them on this. To be honest, they've got a really difficult job to do today. And she could have stopped it, and Rishi Sunak could have stopped it, because they could have actually, said there should be no demonstrations today or tomorrow. Who's the other guy? The mayor, he could have said that as well, and he hasn't said it. Winds me up, So all Cruella has done is she's just bred aggressiveness, nastiness. It's just horrible. Let's have a look at it anyway. So let's just have a look at this video first.
That's half with some of his while he is there, and we have in the studio Huffington Post.
So this was first thing this morning. It's all very quiet there, but it doesn't stay that way.
Political correspondent Alicia Fitzgerald and Peter Blexley, who's the former Metropolitan Police detective. They are still with me. I'll come to you in a second, but I just want to hear from Conservative MP James Sunderland first, who joins us. James, thank you so much for taking the time on Saturday morning. What do you make of, the security operation is clearly going as it should so far this morning. There have been no reports of anything untoward, but really we are in a situation where Metropolitan Police have to guard the cenotaph in the centre of London because of this pro-Palestinian march. What does that say, do you think, James?
It says an awful lot, Peter. The important thing this weekend, of course, is that this is Armistice Day today. We can to make sure that people can pay their respect to commemorate these important things. But I have no problem at all with lawful protest. But if this spills over or it gets out of hand, we've got a problem.
Now, what the police have decided to do, which I think is a good idea, is if they're going to let the actual march go ahead, just protect the centre. That doesn't look very protected to me. Is that it? Surely, protect the cenotaph, make sure that nobody gets to the cenotaph. But really, it would have been a lot easier if there wouldn't have been protests. If Cruella wouldn't have wound everyone up into a fever pitch. And you're going to see in a minute the scenes that I'm going to show you. It's not the Palestinian marchers that are causing the most problems. It's the far right and Tommy Robinson. Disgusting, honestly. But I don't actually blame them. I don't blame the Palestinian marchers. I blame Cruella Braverman for whipping this up into a frenzy. And do you know what? She's doing it on purpose because she wants all this. Because one, she wants to be prime minister, so she's trying to get Rishi Sunak to sack her. He won't sack her, because if he sacks her, that's it. She takes some of his party with her, the far right she takes with her. So he just keeps saying, oh, I've got full confidence in her. I've got full confidence in her, despite the fact that people in his own party are even distancing themselves from her, except for idiots like Anne Widdecombe. And she's another one who breeds hate, and she's always bred sort of hate and division. All these people that breed hate and division and cannot don't want people to be together on things. They want people to be divided. They want you to all hate each other so you don't hate them. That's basically what it comes down to. And it's disgusting because it's going to cause so many problems in Britain. I just don't even know which way it's going to go. Anyway, let's see what they've got to say. I see Peter Blexley's there. I think he's probably on the side of the far right, which is a shame because I normally like him. But we'll see what he's got to say.
Yes, we do, and I'm sure that has been prepared for. What do you make as a Conservative MP, as someone who I know is friends with Suella Braverman? I hope I can characterise you in that way. What do you make of what happened with her this week and the political row that's going on?
Well, I work with Suella. I work in the Home Office. I see what goes on. And, you know, the suggestion that the Home Secretary is somehow not entitled or not qualified to offer a view about policing is quite extraordinary. She's the Home Secretary. She deals with this every single day of the week. And also there's a danger that what...
But she could work with the police instead. So what she's done, actually, she puts discredit on the police. She's not supposed to do that, is she, Peter?
She said this week could be proven to be correct today. It is very interesting. I don't want to wade into the debate, but ultimately it was the Met Police Commissioner that made the decision not to ban the march. He didn't ask the Home Secretary for those powers. But of course, today the police are saying that they need to prepare for potential violence. So there's an inconsistency there, which to me as a Tory MP doesn't quite make sense.
Should she have done?
But to me, it's obvious they can't all work together. They're all against each other. He's against her, she's against him, they're against the police. They're all supposed to work together.
Behind closed doors, though, shouldn't we in public see the Home Secretary entirely supporting the Metropolitan Police? I'm sure she absolutely supports the rank and file and the very difficult job that they will be doing today. But clearly there is a tension there with the leadership and Sir Mark Rowley.
Look, let's be absolutely clear. The Home Secretary, who I know very well indeed, is utterly supportive of the police and has been all of the way through. She's entitled to be critical on occasion. I
just don't think that's true. I'm sorry. I think you're lying there. You're telling little porkies there, Peter. She's not supporting the police. She's inviting people to not support the police when the police, you know, they're struggling to get support as it is. And whatever you think or don't think about the police, this job that they've got to do over these next 2 days, would you want to do it? I certainly won't want to do it. And certainly when you see the scenes in a minute, you definitely won't want to do it. So, you know, she is not supporting them. She's encouraged this violence.
It's her job. That's the remit that she has. But she's entirely critical. And it is not my job. She's entirely entitled to be critical. But it is not my job to criticise or condone her as someone who works with her.
Sure, of course, absolutely, James. But it is certainly something that has been very controversial this week as well. And of course, the protest going ahead, we know it's a minority of people who have caused a problem, but it doesn't, in some ways, it doesn't matter that it's a minority. There's still people breaking the law, doing horrendous things, attacking police officers. We know 4 of them were injured when fireworks were sent into the line of police last weekend in Trafalgar Square.
So what I'm trying to say is it's a difficult job. You know, you've got to admire them for it. I know some police are bad, and there's no, you know, I'd be the first person to criticise someone who does something wrong, but a lot of these police, they're not.
In terms of the march today, it's hard to predict, of course, what will happen, but we do know there will be a lot more people in central London, and the fact that many people will be staying out of central London because this protest is happening. People who might have been going into the shops or to do tourist destinations or whatever. I mean, is your personal position that it should be banned?
Would anybody want to visit London at the moment? You imagine if you're booking your holidays, people are doing a city break. I won't be going to London. I mean, capitals are always the more hotspot places, aren't they, for problems, of course, whether it's Paris or Madrid or, you know, whichever capital city it is, you're more likely to get protests there because they attract more attention, don't they? If somebody protests in my little village, nobody takes any notice, so they're going to go to Madrid and do a protest when they want the maximum thing. But this is it. So it's what nobody's going to want to go to London, though. I wouldn't. You know what? If you paid me, I wouldn't go to London these days. Seems like if you don't get knifed on the streets, then you're going to get squashed or caught up in a bloody protest.
or that it should have been, should have tried to persuade people not to have the protest march today. What do you think of that?
If you want my personal view, I think that there are better weekends for this march to happen. I think the organisers of the march should have made the decision in their own interests to move the march from this weekend.
Now, bear in mind, this is Talk TV, and they're talking about the Palestinian march now. This is before we know about.
Let's allow Armistice Day, Remembrance Sunday to continue unaffected. We do have a potential toxic mix today, which is very regrettable. We could have avoided it, in my view. And also, this is about the law of unintended consequences, not just about the sanctity of Remembrance Weekend. You've had Just Stop Oil glue themselves to the Cenotaph this week.
I don't think these are unintended consequences. I think when Cruella said the inflammatory things that she said this week, she said them on purpose. She is trying to stir it up. Rishi Sunak, he doesn't know what to do with her. He wants to get rid of her. There's been a couple of times he's wanted to get rid of her, but he's too scared to get rid of her because she'll take some of the right wing with it, you know, that he needs on his side. He's so weak, Rishi Sunak, he can't take, you know, Keir Starmer said she is out of control. She's out of control, and Rishi Sunak is just letting her be out of control.
Complete nonsense. We've got the pro-Palestinian march today, which should be a peace march, and I'm really hoping it is a peace march. We've also got these far-right groups turning up now, which won't help either. So the police have made the decision not.
The Palestinian protest march is more likely to be a peaceful march. You just know that the far-right, Tommy Robinson, it's not going to be a peaceful march, is it? They're not about peace, they're about revolution.
Not to ban the march. The police now need to deal with it if it spills over. And also the Met Police need to take responsibility for what happens.
In terms of that responsibility, James...
And in the meantime, if you're living in London and you need a policeman for something, forget it, because they'll all be there at the march. Forget, where do these policemen come from? Can't find a policeman normally, but suddenly they'll all be there. I think they said there was going to be, was it 2,900 policemen there?
I mean, what does that look like? If this gets out of hand, and we desperately hope it doesn't, we want it to be nice and quiet. But if it isn't, should Mark Rowley resign?
No.
Oh, well, I mean, not for me to say that. That's a matter for him. That's a matter for the government. It's interesting, isn't it, that Sadiq Khan is believed to have said yesterday that, oh, don't worry about number 10. You know, I'm the Met Police. I'm the boss of the Met Police. I'm the London mayor. I mean, complete nonsense. I mean, this is indicative of a guy who is completely out of his depth. And
they hate Sadiq Khan, don't they? I mean, you know, I won't make a judgment on that. I don't know enough about it really, but I know they hate Sadiq Khan because he's the mayor of London and he's Labour. So you know, there's no way they're going to say anything positive about him, because they want, obviously, and it's fair enough, you know, if it was a Labour government, they would want a Labour MP, and then of course it was Boris Johnson, wasn't he? He was a very popular London mayor. He was popular then. Even I liked him then, and I didn't even live in London. But you know, he was good at being a mayor. But of course now we find out he was siphoning off all the money to his girlfriends and everything, and God knows what. But you know, I suppose most mayors do that. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Sadiq Khan's doing that for all I know. But he's never going to support Sadiq Khan. So we've got a position now. So they got rid of Cressida Dick, who was an absolute dick, because she did absolutely nothing for women. There we had a female commissioner for police in the Met, and what did she ever do for women? That's when they went through their biggest crisis, all this about Wayne Couzens murdering Sarah Everard, all the, you know, it's all come out about the misogynist and racist WhatsApp groups, the rapists, the sex offenders in the Met Police, all under the reign of Cressida Dick, a woman. How this really makes me angry as well, when often when women get in power and you think, oh good, you know, you're going to do something for women, they do fuck all for women. They do nothing for women. You know, there's been many of them that just don't, you know, they get into that position of power, they've got the ideal position to change things, And Cressida did not change anything. In fact, if anything, it got worse. So now we've got this new guy. This guy said, oh, if this all goes wrong today, should he resign? I think he's only been in the job 2 years. Anyway, I don't know what good he's doing or not. I don't know, but
he's been utterly quiet. And
we've heard very little from him. He did do an interview with Times Radio the other day and a few other broadcasters. For some reason, he just didn't have the time to come on Talk TV. I'm not entirely sure why. But we have heard a little bit from Sadiq Khan, but he has been really...
Well, they probably won't come on Talk TV because it's so right-wing. And also, as much as they might think they're a great big media company, they're not. They're no more than social media, really.
Silence, a lot of the time, has been pretty deafening over this in terms of, the biggest protest ever in the capital, or one of the biggest protests ever. Of course, the Iraq War March was bigger, but one of the biggest protests. And the fact that he is the mayor of London. And, I would have liked to have heard a lot more from him, James.
Yeah, I think I would have wanted to see a lot more leadership from Sadiq Khan. He's been very quiet. He's been complicit, in my view, in this pro-Hamas element of these marches this week.
I'm sure he would deny that.
Pro-Hamas?
Well, of course he would. But
what, are you saying that Sadiq Khan is pro-Hamas? He's probably likely pro-Palestine. That is not the same as being pro-Hamas.
Labour Party is split at the moment. Keir Starmer has prided himself on eradicating anti-Semitism from his party. You saw the Labour conference last month. I think we are seeing quite different now. So, tensions are high at the moment. It's very important for politicians to dial down the rhetoric. I would have wanted to see the march not happen today. I've got no problem at all.
So he's just said, I think it's very important for politicians to dial down the rhetoric, but he will not condemn Suella Braverman. He's condemning everybody else. See, they always stick to their party. He said, it's like, that's the Conservatives all over. It doesn't matter what's right. What all they ever do is support the party, because I don't even know, but with the Conservatives, it is party first. Party first, country second. All this political shite, it's supposed to be for the good of the country. You should be acting for the good of the country, not for the good of your stupid party.
At all with lawful protest, but we need to make sure it does not spill over. We need to make sure it doesn't go anywhere near the Senate half, and that we don't allow a toxic mix to spill over into something really quite difficult.
You served our country yourself, James, in the army. Tell us about your career.
Well, I mean, I did 26 years of military service. I did many things. I'm a proud veteran. I think the veterans in our country are very, very important, and the government's doing all it can to support them. But actually, this is not just about uniform service. This is about
doing all it can to support the veterans, as long as they're not homeless. Can't even have a tent now because of your Cruella.
Service across the piece. This is about key workers. This is about police. This is about the NHS. Everyone who fulfills a vital function for our society. We need to listen to them and look after them. And actually, today and tomorrow is about the veterans. It's about our fallen. It's about Armistice Day, Remembrance Sunday, and it's about appropriate commemoration of the fallen. And that's where we should be focused this weekend.
And as someone who served our country for over 2 decades, James, and reached a very high rank within the army, what will be going through?
I just realised he hasn't actually got a poppy on. Now, unfortunately, I haven't got a poppy on because I can't get them here, because obviously Armistice Day, Spain wasn't included in the war. So, and obviously, so I've not been able to get one. I thought about making one, but I don't know how to make one. I'm trying to think if I've even got something read. But anyway, but yeah, he hasn't got one on either, which is a bit odd.
Through your mind at 11 o'clock today?
Well, we pause. We pause for reflection. We pause to pay respects to those who have paid the ultimate price. We pause tomorrow, Remembrance Sunday. And when we wear those poppies, whether you are a veteran, whether you're serving, whether you're not, whether you're a civilian, it doesn't matter. We all operate as one. We're all one nation and beyond, commemorating what people do in the name of service. And it is important that we do remember.
So it all looks nice and quiet there, and that the police are, not got anything too much to deal with there.
All of those that we knew, and I knew several people that aren't here anymore, And it's very important that we pay the respects to those who have paid that price. And as I said, that's where we should be focused this weekend.
Thank you, James, Conservative MP James Sunderland. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. And it really is that sense of remembrance and sacrifice and appreciation that it's so much of this coverage, Peter Blexley, and so much of what the nation is talking about at the moment has been actually forgotten.
Well, it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point of not only today, but tomorrow. And anybody who dismisses it or doesn't think about our fallen or doesn't want to show some level of respect, whatever that may be, by abiding by a minute or two silence, wearing a poppy, or just quite frankly behaving yourself over the weekend, really needs to give their head a wobble. But I would like...
Well, exactly. Even if you don't go there and, you know, you don't actively take place, what you do is you just don't disrupt the things, you know, the solemnity of the day. You know, the solemnity of the day. You don't go and cause riots, whoever you are, whether it's riots for the far right, the far left, the in the middle, 30 degrees to the right, 40, you know, it's whatever. You just don't do it. There are times when you do not protest.
I'd like to speak about Sadiq Khan.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
I had the huge misfortune to hear him this week.
Right.
On one of his very rare media appearances.
He just didn't have time to come on Talk TV. He's a very busy man. We did ask him a number of times.
He didn't. And please don't string me up for listening to another media outlet. But when Khan spoke, I wanted to listen.
Of course.
Of course. I wish I hadn't. It was the most staggering, hypocritical interview I've heard. Because what did he do? He banged on about the operational independence of the police and how sacrosanct and important that was. And since he has been London mayor, he has repeatedly interfered with policing matters. He's almost seen it as his right. And of course, he does have some responsibility. But to hear him talking about independence when his DNA and his grubby fingerprints have been over more interfering in policing matters.
He obviously doesn't like Sadiq Khan then.
Than I can possibly imagine. That really was crass hypocrisy.
Alicia Fitzgerald, political correspondent at Huffington Post. What's your view?
I do like the way Peter just tells it as he thinks. I mean, you know, I might not agree with him. To be honest, I don't actually know that much about Sadiq Khan, but he does certainly say what he thinks. I do like that, whatever.
Specifically Sadiq Khan. Well, I was going to say, I think the Conservative Party as a whole, they have it's a difficult one to play because obviously the police are an independent body, but at the same time the government are the government, and they actually obviously have the overriding say on what
policing
happens.
Has been political. I mean, it is with a small p. There have been political elements to it, and that it's always difficult, isn't it?
Of course, but I actually just want to pick up on a point that James Sunderland made as well, because he mentioned that, you know, about the Home Secretary's right to scrutinise the Met Police. And I think, of course, she has a right to scrutinise the Met Police. That is pretty much a big part of her job. That's definitely what she's allowed to do. But that's not what the debate was about. It wasn't about publishing an article.
Out of control? From Number 10's perspective?
From Number 10's perspective, it's a difficult one because on this occasion, it wasn't signed off by Number 10 with her views.
The thing is, she gave them the article that she was planning on running, and they altered some things originally. That's what she did. So it wasn't that she didn't run it by them, but she didn't take any of the changes that they wanted her to make. And Rishi Sunak, he made her Home Secretary because he was trying to keep the far right on his side. He tried to build a balanced cabinet, but I think he shot himself in the foot with this one because all she's aiming for is to be Prime Minister.
Resigned under Liz Truss. You know, Grant Chaps had a glittering 7-day career as Home Secretary, and then Suella Braverman was brought back. And actually, I wonder if she actually.
Grant Shapps has been everything, hasn't he? He's been Home Secretary, he's been Transport Minister, he's currently Defence Minister. Oh my God! Tell you what, they just go from job to job. She stayed in that job quite a while, but you know why they put her in that job? I'm sorry, they put her in that job because she is Asian, so she can say racist and things about immigration without getting pulled up for it. That's why she's there as well.
Provides an outlet for the Conservative Party, maybe even Rishi Sunak, to say things that he perhaps wouldn't otherwise say.
Well, exactly. And this isn't the first time she's made front page headlines for various phrases, statements, inflammatory language, whatever you want to call it, that she's gone ahead and said this is definitely not pinned. And although this particular issue was paid in the past, it's happened on multiple occasions. Multiple occasions.
So how knocked are number 10 from the conversations you've had this week? How annoyed are number 10 about Suella Braverman? How do they view her this week?
It's so divided. It's so divided because on the one hand, Rishi Sunak doesn't want to ruffle the feathers of the people towards the right of the party. He doesn't want to ruffle those who will say she has the right to her opinions, that, you know, she's just speaking.
Think he'll sack her this week? We'll see.
He won't sack her. I'd be very surprised. And she might push him to it, because if he doesn't sack her over this, she'll do something else. You know, she's feeling emboldened because whatever she says, whatever she does, little prissy Rishi, he's too weak. He's probably scared she'll hit him. Because he's such a titch. I saw a brilliant photo that someone had put together, like they'd reduced him even more in size, and she was holding him his hand as if he was a child, you know. Because he won't. I don't think he will sack her, but I think in the end he will have to, because she'll just keep doing more and more things. So after this weekend's over with, and there'll be something else that he'll be saying. But anyway, so now I want to show you, because as far as I know, I don't know what's happened with the Palestinian march, if that's gone ahead or whatever, but I want to show you what happened with Tommy Robinson's patriotic, far right, Britain first, you know, really make you proud to be British type people. So I want to show you what happened with them. So, what do you think about that? So, far-right protesters have clashed with police near the Cenotaph War Memorial in London ahead of a pro-Palestinian demonstration, which is expected to be one of the biggest ever held. A large mob of people carrying St. George's flags were seen walking across embankment and shouting, "England till I die." So it's okay if you're in Scotland or Wales. They're not talking about you. They're just talking about England. So a line of people and you'd be glad about that, I think. A line of people attempted to stop them from reaching Whitehall, but a line of police, but the group pushed through them, with some shouting, "Let's have them," as officers responded with batons. These are scary times. They are scary times, and I certainly wouldn't want to be a policeman. So bottles were also thrown at the police by counter-demonstrators, many of whom were wearing masks. Yeah, big cowards. The confrontation happened shortly before the Armistice Day 2-minute silence, when hundreds of people gathered at the Cenotaph to commemorate the UK's war dead at 11. but the service passed off without incident. Thank goodness for that. So this idiot, Stephen Yaxley Lennon, also known as Tommy Robinson. Well, I knew nothing about him, but I've been watching a couple of his videos. Oh my God, he's full of hate, isn't he? So full of hate. Why is everyone so full of hate? He's the founder of the English Defence League, and he called his supporters to mass in the capital. So, oh God, it's getting worse. He was among the crowds, along with former GB News presenter Calvin Robinson. Isn't he a vicar or something? It's that guy with the afro, isn't it? He's a horrible man as well. So the Met Police posted on Twitter, while the 2-minute silence was marked respect on Whitehall, officers have faced aggression from counter-protesters who are in the area in significant numbers. The force said it will use all the powers and tactics available to us to prevent the counter-protesters from confronting the main march, calling for a ceasefire in Israel's war against the militant group Hamas. Now, they're calling for peace, at least. I mean, you know, whatever you think. I mean, to me, I'm a pacifist. I just hate war. I don't take sides. I would love to see a ceasefire or a pause or just get the civilians out or whatever. But I do appreciate that it's very difficult what Israel are doing. Very difficult situation. I know that. There were later further clashes in Chinatown when missiles were thrown at police while a large group were detained following trouble at Westminster Tube Station. It's understood the group of around 100 people were being held under powers to prevent a disturbance. Several arrests have been made, including one on suspicion of possession of a knife. So the main pro-Palestinian demonstration, expected to be attended by more than 500,000 people, had drawn criticism from the Prime coincided with remembrance events. And, you know, I think I said in an earlier video, I don't think there should have been any protests, but they are protesting for peace, of course. And as long as it didn't clash with any, like the 2-minute silence and stuff, you know, I don't know what the thing is, what they're demonstrating for. You can't, you know, it's happening now. They're not demonstrating for something in the future. So I don't know, you know, I honestly, I just want an end to hate, all the hate. But it's her. She had faced accusations of inflaming tensions, accusing the police of playing favourites when they resisted pressure to ban the march. So I just think that she has inflamed this. She's got all those, she wanted that. She'd be loving that because it's causing all these problems. And she thinks that once all this happens, she will be left as Prime Minister. So, as she was being condemned to be sacked, she has subsequently expressed her full backing for the Metropolitan Police. Yeah. Anyway, so what do you think? So the Scottish First Minister Humza Yousaf said the far right has been emboldened by the Home Secretary. I do believe that. She has spent her week fanning the flames of division. And I saw some people that appealing for people because she wants this division. She does actually want it. Anyway, let's see if the latest. I mean, have the right, let me just share this with you. So these are
it translates for you, explain the meaning. Right. If it then meets the legal threshold, the points to prove an offence, you're then directed into making an arrest if it's safe to do so. But as we've seen over the last 3 or 4 weeks, officers have been doing this every single week. They've been looking at what's been done and said on the marches, and then arresting people subsequently or putting out public appeals for identification of people. There were a couple of weeks ago, I think there were 2 or 3 ladies with the paraglider images on their backs. My understanding is that at least a couple of those have now been arrested. Other individuals. So it's a minority of the people attending these marches, but there are still people within the march who are
Look at all
committing
those
criminal offences.
people.
And if they're not arrested today, the Met will actively seek them and try to arrest them in later days.
Okay, we're just going to break away from that shot there. There's some scuffles taking place right now near Westminster. Let's just have a look at these live pictures that we can bring you from central London with the police clashing with protesters there. And
look,
judging by that
holding
flag,
up.
they are indeed counter-protesters. Graham,
Yeah,
talk us through what you're seeing.
it just looks like maybe a group has come out of 1 or 2 of the pubs in and around Whitehall, Westminster, etc. Still contained within the Westminster area, the Parliament Square area, and now confronting the police. Evidence gathering teams deployed there. That's a county evidence gathering team that's actually deployed there. Officers still with their baseball caps on with this crowd, batons drawn, just basically they're trying to clear the crowd or get them to disperse. But clearly we saw it looked like alcohol being thrown, so clearly there's now alcohol being used as well. So that looks like a county police mutual aid serial with the vest on. That's not a Met insignia. And I'm a bit rusty on some of my county insignias, but
We don't mind about insignias. we're more interested in the characters at play here and what is happening. Of course, the counter-protesters that have turned out today against the pro-Palestine march they are the only ones who've been arrested so far, I should say, 82 in total so far. And in terms of your experience with this sort of group, Graham, this pro-right group that have turned out today, there they are in Parliament Square clashing with police. Are they looking for trouble when they turn out to events like this, or is this just something that would have unfolded?
on previous.
So basically, what the police's job is at the moment is just to stop those 2 groups of protesters meeting, isn't it, really? Oh God, all those people. I find it terrifying, to be honest. You know, I wouldn't want to be a policeman. I wouldn't want to be any of the protesters stuck in the middle of all that. It's nasty. It's aggression. And they're holding up an English flag, and then they wonder why people can't hold up an English flag, because that's what they've made it represent. That's what they've made it represent. Anyway, let me know what you think, as always. I'm sure you've all got your views on this. You know, why do they're going out there, like they've got their point to make, but they're going out there drunk and aggressive. Drunken and aggressive. Mainly men. Anyway, let me know what you think. So it's all a bit depressing, isn't it, really? On a day that we should have been sort of celebrating our freedoms and giving thanks to the people that gave us our freedoms or kept us free. Instead, we're looking at that load of shite. Sorry. Okay, so that's my rant for today. Remember to live and love carefully, wisely. I'll see you really soon in the next video. I hope everybody's safe there. I hope nobody gets hurt, including the police. And until I see you again, may your God always go with you. Bye.